Have you seen a lot of new housing advertisements by the roadside in the past few years? Well, Brampton's population has been growing a lot recently, and I think that's in large part because of the fairly cheap cost of housing. Then there's farming, which has been a large part of our economy in the past but has become less and less as our city grows. With the population at an all-time high and farming at an all-time low, it got me thinking, how has the increase in population in Brampton affected the agricultural industry? What does that mean if the population continues to rise? When I looked on Google Earth satellite imagery from 2004 and compared it with the map of 2018, it has a lot of changes in such a short amount of time. My first change I noticed is a huge change in its size. The eastern area is especially growing. When I compared 2004 with the map of its features, I noticed the increasing amount of construction for housing on top of what was once farmland and the continuation of the 410 highway that ran across farmland until it merged with Huron, Ontario. I also noticed how long construction work took, though unrelated. When I put on the filters to show roads, I saw a bunch of it on top of farmland, and it shows how much bigger Brampton has become. A place that can be used as an example is Mount Pleasant, that did not exist in 2004, but had a rapid construction that can be seen on Google Earth. You can even see this change on Google Maps website, where in the map you can see a satellite image of two merged together from two different times. In one, you can see a farm that just been harvested, and in the other, it's been demolished in return for housing and construction of a new neighborhood. In the road map form, you can see new roads that have been paved over and an osmose that's been built. And in the low view in person, you can see a new construction happening. I assume that surrounding farm will also meet the same fate, as on one of the other road signs, it has the word saying the road would be extended in a future date. This information shows how Brampton treats its farming industry and how Brampton economy relies less and less on the agricultural industry. As Brampton's demand for houses rises, they need to meet the demands, and in order to do that, they need space for new housing. First, I took a look at the population pyramid from Brampton that used the data from 2016 census. Brampton's population pyramid looks like a stable population. I also took the data from the past 5 national censuses since 1996 and put them into graphs to help visualize the data. The first graph compares the population to the number of houses. The population is at least triple the number of houses, and the difference between the two grows by the year. The second graph I created was a growth rate, and it calculated growth. In Brampton, I saw a spike in population and the number of houses in 2006 with a growth rate of 33% and 29.1% respectively, and the lowest point being in 2011 to 2016 with a growth rate of 13.3% and 12.6% respectively. In all growth rate percent, I always found that houses were 1.1 to 3% behind the population growth, and I think that plays a part why the demand and expense of housing has boomed. Because houses aren't being built as fast as the population is coming in. It's easy to see that my final graph was made where it shows the ratio between population and number of houses, where the ratio is steadily rising from 3.31 in 1996 to get to 3.53 in 2016. Because Brampton is continuing to expand and grow, they have bought the land to a lot of farms to create new homes. Because of this, less and less people are now working on farms in Brampton. With the amount of people working in natural resources industries going down from 950 in 2011 to 730 in 2016. Less people are also choosing to learn how to become a farmer, with more than 300 fewer people choosing to learn agriculture, natural resource, and conservation as a field. The number of farms in Peel have also all lowered, including Brampton. The average size of a farm is also getting smaller and smaller, most likely thanks to the growing amount of housing. Despite this, for some reason, the average market value of a Brampton farm is $4.3 million, which is still a lot higher than the average farm in the GTA, which is about $3.9 million. This might be because all the smaller farms are being bought out, but nonetheless, Brampton is still paving over them in exchange for more housing space. This leads me to what I think is going to happen to Brampton if they continue to pave over farms for housing. In order to help me, I also created the same 3 graphs using the census data from Mississauga and Caledon. In Mississauga, I found their growth rate was way lower than us. The most notable difference is that the housing growth is increasing faster than their population, which is the opposite of Brampton. The people per house is also way lower than us. They average half a person per house less than us. When I compared both graphs, The end of the Brampton looks like the start of the Mississauga graph. I think Brampton aims to become more like Mississauga, and clearing out farms will help them. I also did the same graph for Caledon, where the population and growth was way smaller than both Brampton and Mississauga. The percent growth in housing was also greater than the growth in population, apart from 2011-2016, where there was an influx of population. After looking at all this data, I came to the conclusion that the increase in population is affecting farms in a negative way, as it's pushing out the agricultural industry from our economy and our community. I think Brampton is trying to be more like Mississauga and focus more on secondary and tertiary jobs instead of primary jobs. If the population continues to rise, I think Brampton will continue to build over the farms and spread out more into Caledon. And I think that's all the non-commercial farms will be bought out by our government.